Welcome to another video in a series where I explore balding and head shaving through the lens of various traditions and philosophical ideas. In this video, we'll explore the ancient Hindu tradition of a baby's head shave called Mundan and some of the lessons we can learn for life. The video is narrated by myself. As I understand, not everyone enjoys AI-generated voices. The first shave. What a Hindu baby's tonsure teaches us about life. Imagine this. You're holding a baby who has barely begun to discover the world. They're surrounded by parents, grandparents, relatives, perhaps a priest, and a gathering of family and friends. Then something unexpected happens. The baby's hair is completely shaved off. To someone unfamiliar with Hindu traditions, the obvious question is, why? Why would a family shave a baby's head? Is it simply an old custom? Is it religious? Is it symbolic? And perhaps the most interesting question is, what can a centuries-old tradition involving a baby teach an adult about how to live? In many Hindu communities, the ceremonial of shaving a child's hair is known as Chudakarana or Mundan. The exact age, rituals and customs vary considerably between communities, and not every Hindu family follows the practice. So this isn't about one universal rule. Instead, it's an example of something much broader in Hindu tradition, using a physical ritual to express a deeper spiritual principle. And that principle has surprisingly little to do with hair. It has to do with transformation. Let's explore that. Part 1. What is the tradition? Mundan is traditionally associated with the removal of a child's first hair. It is considered a samskara, a rite of passage intended to mark and shape important stages in a person's development. The ceremony may involve prayers, mantras, blessings, offerings, and family participation. In some traditions, the removed hair is offered or disposed of in a sacred manner. But the important point is this: Mundan isn't simply a haircut. It's a symbolic act of transformation. One traditional interpretation connects a child's birth hair with influences or impurities associated with previous existence. Within Hindu ideas of samsara, life is part of a continuing cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, with karma and past impressions influencing one's journey. The removal of the birth hair can therefore symbolize, let what belongs to the past be left behind. The razor doesn't literally erase karma. It represents purification, renewal, and the beginning of a new stage. And that gives us our first life lesson. We all carry things from our past, old habits, old fears, old assumptions, old mistakes. Sometimes we don't even realize how much of our present behavior is being shaped by things that happened years ago. The baby's first haircut gives us a powerful image. You don't have to carry everything from the past into the future. Shedding the ego. There is another layer. Hair is part of our physical appearance, and appearance easily becomes part of identity. As adults, we become attached to how we look, what we own, what we achieve, what people think of us, and the social identity we construct. Hindu philosophy repeatedly challenges this identification with the external self. Am I merely my body, my appearance, my possessions, my status, my achievements, or is there something deeper? The removal of the hair can therefore be understood as a symbol of a detachment from the external self. It reminds us that what is visible isn't necessarily what is most important. This connects with the idea of ahankara, the ego or sense of I, through which we identify ourselves with the personality and its labels. Spiritual growth doesn't mean destroying your personality. It means becoming less controlled by the idea that everything revolves around me. A shaved head becomes a striking image of humility. No elaborate hairstyle, no status symbol, no attempt to impress, just a child. Before becoming somebody in the eyes of the world, remember what you are beneath the labels. From purification to discipline, Mundan isn't only about what is removed, it's also about what comes next. That is important because samskaras are not simply ceremonies marking events. Traditionally, they are formative rites, ways of guiding a person through life stages. The ceremony places the child within a family, community, religious tradition, and moral framework. Prayers and blessings express hopes for the child's well-being and development. The message is not simply something has been taken away. It is a new stage has begun, and we must grow into it. That gives the ceremony another important dimension. Growing up isn't only about becoming physically older, it is about becoming inwardly better. The hair is removed externally, the real work is internal. Discipline, humility, self-control, wisdom, compassion, devotion. The first can happen in an afternoon, the second can take a lifetime. And this is where an ancient ritual becomes relevant to modern life. Part 2. The lesson of letting go. As we grow older, we accumulate much more than possessions. We accumulate expectations, resentments, regrets, labels, and stories about ourselves. Someone tells us we're not good enough. We remember it for 20 years. We fail at something once. Then we decide, I'm just not that kind of person. We begin turning past experiences into permanent identities. But the past can be acknowledged without being allowed to control the future. This is where the symbolism of Mundan becomes practical. The hair removed during the ceremony doesn't have to be understood as something evil. It simply belongs to an earlier stage, and that distinction matters. Letting go doesn't always mean saying something was bad. Something it means. It belonged to then, I'm moving forward now. So ask yourself, what am I still carrying that no longer needs to come with me? An old resentment, an old fear, a definition someone else gave me, a mistake I keep using as evidence against myself? Letting go isn't forgetting, it's refusing to allow yesterday to own tomorrow. Part 3. The lesson of impermanence. The next lesson is even deeper. Everything changes. The baby's body changes. The hair grows back, the child learns to walk, then runs, then grows into a teenager, then an adult. Eventually they grow old. Nothing remains exactly as it was. Hindu philosophical traditions have long explored this reality, yet human beings naturally resist it. We want our relationships to stay the same, our success to stay, our youth to stay, our circumstances to stay, but life doesn't make that promise. Everything moves, and perhaps the wiser response isn't to fight change, but to learn how to move with it. This can actually make life more meaningful. If every moment is temporary, then the moment you're experiencing deserves your attention. When your child laughs, be present. When your parents are still here, be present. When you're having dinner with friends, be present. When you have the opportunity to walk outside on a beautiful morning, be present. Because the moment you're experiencing is already becoming part of the past. Impermanence isn't only a reason to accept loss, it's a reason to appreciate what we have now. Part 4. Why rituals matter. You might ask, if the lesson is philosophical, why do we need a ceremony at all? Because human beings don't learn only through information, we learn through experience. You can tell someone life changes, they'll probably agree, but a ritual gives an abstract idea of physical form. The family gathers, prayers are said, the hair is removed, blessings are given, a photograph is taken. Years later, the photograph becomes a reminder of a particular moment. This is what rituals can do. They create a marker in time. Modern life is full of similar examples. We shake hands after reaching an agreement. We give medals to mark achievement. We cut ribbons at openings. We stand for moments of silence. The action itself may be simple. The meaning is not. Human beings use symbols because symbols help us to remember things that are difficult to hold in our minds. And perhaps that is one reason ancient traditions remain powerful. They don't just tell you an idea. They give you something to remember it by. Part 5. A lesson for parents. The ceremony also offers a powerful lesson for parents. A child is not a possession. Parents naturally say my child, and there is love in that phrase. But raising a child means eventually learning to separate love from ownership. The child is an individual on their own journey. Parents can guide them, protect them, educate them, love them, but they cannot live the child's life for them. A parent spends years teaching a child how to stand, then how to walk, then how to make decisions. Eventually the child has to build a life of their own. So one possible lesson is, our job isn't to possess a child, our job is to help the child flourish. And that principle applies beyond parenting. Good leadership works the same way, good teaching works the same way, healthy relationships often work the same way. Sometimes the greatest expression of care is helping someone become capable of standing without you. Part 6. Love versus attachment. This brings us to an important distinction in Hindu philosophy. Love is not the same as attachment. You can love someone deeply without believing you own them. You can pursue success without believing your worth depends entirely upon it. You can enjoy wealth without allowing wealth to define you. You can care about your reputation without becoming its prisoner. Attachment becomes dangerous when our inner peace depends completely on an external thing remaining exactly as we want it to be. Think about these statements. I'll only be happy if I get the promotion. I'll only be happy if this person loves me. I will only be happy if everyone respects me. I'll only be happy if my life follows my plan. In each case, we've handed control of our inner state to something outside ourselves. And the outside world is unpredictable. The lesson isn't to stop caring. It's to develop a different relationship with what we care about. Love deeply, work hard, aim high, but don't hand your entire identity to temporary things. This is detachment without indifference. Part 7. The power of a fresh start. There's another lesson hidden in the symbolism of renewal. We often think our past defines us, but every stage of life gives us an opportunity to begin again. You failed an exam, begin again. Your business didn't grow, learn and begin again. You made a terrible decision, take responsibility and begin again. You spent years moving in the wrong direction, you can still turn around. The past is information, it doesn't have to be a prison, and sometimes we need a decisive psychological break from an old version of ourselves, not because that person was worthless, but because we've learned. Perhaps that is one of the most useful ways to translate the symbolism of Mundan into modern life. Create moments where you consciously decide to become different. You don't need a dramatic ceremony. If you could be a decision, it could be a decision, a journal entry, a conversation, a new habit, a commitment. The important thing is that the internal decision matches the external symbolism. Part 8. Don't confuse the symbol with the transformation. And this is crucial. We shouldn't assume that performing a ritual automatically produces spiritual growth. You can shave your head and remain exactly the same person. You can visit a temple and still behave badly. You can perform 100 rituals and never examine your character. The external act matters when it points towards an internal transformation. That's true of almost every ritual in human life. A wedding ceremony doesn't automatically make someone a good partner. A graduation ceremony doesn't automatically make someone wise. A religious ceremony doesn't automatically make someone compassionate. The ritual is the reminder. What you do with the reminder is up to you. So the deeper question isn't, did I perform the ritual? It's, did the ritual change the way I live? Did I become more disciplined, more humble, more compassionate, less controlled by ego, less attached to temporary things, more conscious of my responsibilities? If not, then perhaps we've preserved the outer form while missing the inner message. Part 9. The bigger lesson. And now we can return to that baby, a tiny human being sitting in the middle of a family ceremony. The hair is being removed. The child probably has absolutely no idea what any of it means, and perhaps that's part of the beauty. The adults understand the symbolism. The child simply experiences the moment. Years later, they may look at a photograph and ask, why was my head shaved? And someone might answer, because this was an important moment in your life. But perhaps the deeper answer is because life is full of transitions, because every stage asks something different from us, because we can't carry everything forever, because our appearance isn't our deepest identity, because discipline and character matter, and because becoming a better human being requires continual inner growth. That is what makes this tradition so interesting. A very simple physical act can carry an enormous philosophical message. Closing remarks. What will you let go of? So the next time you see a baby with a completely shaved head in a Hindu family, don't just see a haircut, see a symbol of transition, a symbol of purification, a symbol of humility, a symbol of renewal. Perhaps most importantly, a reminder that letting go is not always a loss. Sometimes letting go is how we make space for what's next. So here's the question I'd like to leave you with. What is the hair in your life? What are you carrying simply because you've been carrying it for a long time? An old fear, an old resentment, an old failure, an outdated identity, the need to impress people, the need to control everything. What if you could release it? What if you could say, That was part of my story, but it doesn't have to be the whole story. The Hindu tradition of shaving a child's head gives us a remarkably simple image for a profound truth. Life keeps changing, we cannot hold on to everything, and perhaps wisdom isn't about preventing change. Maybe wisdom is learning how to change gracefully, to love without possessing, to remember without being trapped by the past, to achieve without becoming obsessed with status, to accept change without losing ourselves, and to keep refining who we are as we move through life. The baby's hair will grow back, the child will grow, the family will change, the photograph will become a memory, and life will continue moving forward, just as it always does. So perhaps the real question isn't, why was the baby's head shaved? Perhaps the better question is, what are we willing to let go so that we can grow? Thank you for watching. If you found this perspective meaningful, consider sharing the video with someone who might appreciate it, and subscribe for more explorations of wisdom, philosophy, and stories hidden inside ancient traditions. Until next time, remember, you are not everything you have accumulated. Sometimes, to discover what is essential, we first have to learn how to let go.